This story is dedicated to my beloved four-legged. His name is Hanson. Lo, these many years, she is still in my heart. She was a 75-pound part Rottweiler, part Labrador Retriever. Strong from the Rottie side and gentle from the Lab side. I inherited her from my dear longtime friend Barbara Nevins, who died of metastasized breast cancer. Following Barbara's death, Hanson and I walked to nearby Himmel Park together, and we mourned Barbara's passing. It was during that poignant time of grieving that Hanson and I started what was to become a very deep connected bond with each other. When she started living with me, she was with the program right away. Smart dog. We took early morning walks, late afternoon walks together. We had meals together. She had a doggy bed right at the side of my own bed, and she woke me up in the morning as my hand was draped over the bed, licking my hand. Can you imagine waking up with someone kissing your hand in the early morning? Just beautiful. She was also a great comfort for me when I was feeling a little blue or lonely. She'd come and put her head on my lap. I would pet her rich fur. It was a beautiful relationship. We got along just famously. One of our favorite activities was camping. So this found us on a scorching Tucson day in July of 1991, driving up to Mount Lemmon, find a campsite. We found a beautiful forested place to set up a campsite. We had some dinner together, and then Hanson bed down in a soft, and some soft pine needles right outside the car, and I was inside the car I was sleeping on a mattress pad. It was a beautiful full moonlight. It was peaceful, quiet, and lovely. However, our peacefulness was not to last long. Somewhere before dawn, I hear what is Hanson's clearly alarmed barking. I wake up, and that barking quickly becomes what I hear as yelps and cries of terror. I leap up off my mattress, walk out onto the lowered tailgate of my vehicle, of my truck, and the first thing I see in the moonlight, right across from me, clinging about 10 feet up off the ground, is our 3 bear cubs. I immediately realized we were in deep trouble. I then turned to where the cries were coming from, and I see this huge hulk of a mama bear hovering over Hanson's cries and yelps. I immediately go into fight mode. I will do anything to protect my beloved animal. I started yelling, "Get out of here, get out of our campsite, leave, get out of here." And I start throwing things, anything I can find at this bear. Cans of food, camp stove, even my Birkenstock shoes. I'm throwing everything at it. Her. Something must have hit the mark, because the bear turns, gets me in its sight, and gives me a look that I can only describe in human terms as a look of hatred. She leaps forward, gets on her hind legs, and before I even know what's happening, she takes a swipe at me with her paw. I try to step back. It doesn't really work. I feel almost immediately blood coming down my face and my chest. I pause for a moment and realize then that my life is in danger. Hanson may already be dead or so badly mutilated she's beyond medical care, and there's nothing for me to do but get back in the blazer, go up to the driver's side, and sit down and try to calm myself down. I take a towel and try to staunch the blood as best I can from what had turned out to be a torn nostril. The scar from that bear claw is there to this day as a reminder of what happened that night on Mount Lemon. I waited a few minutes, then opened the window to the driver's side door. Everything is peaceful and quiet as it was a few minutes ago, dead quiet. I take a deep breath, open the door, and then cautiously look around. I start calling, Hanson, Hans, come, Hanson, come. Nothing, silent. I make some ever-widening circles around the campsite, still calling, Hanson, come girl, come. Nothing, silence. There feels like there's nothing else for me to do. The thought goes through my mind that I could find nothing, and it's very likely that Hanson has been dragged off by the bear for a meal for her and the cubs. It was probably hunger that drove this bear into the campsite in the first place. I was sick to my stomach, shaking, and beside myself. I didn't know what to do. So ultimately, I waited until early dawn light, and then I made my way to the ranger station and reported what happened, gave them my contact information, and then drove down the mountain alone. It was the saddest drive I ever remember taking. As you can imagine, it was a grievous week for me. I lost my best friend. I would probably never find her, either dead or alive, and I couldn't imagine living without her. But that's not the end of the story. Toward the end of the week, I get a very unlikely and unexpected phone call from the ranger station. The ranger on the other end of the line tells me that they have found a dog wandering in the area. My hopes soar. And then he gives a description of Hanson that does not really sound like Hanson. He asked me to come up to meet him up on halfway up Mount Lemon to see the dog who's been found. And I really don't want to go. I tell him, I've had such hurt and disappointment. I don't want to go up and find a strange dog. I let him know that the campsite, our campsite, was very far from the ranger station where she was found, that the description of the dog does not sound like Hanson, and besides, I saw her killed underneath this mama bear. But he is very kind and persistent, and finally I relent and agree to meet him at Windy Point, about halfway up Mount Lemon. So next morning, I go up to Windy Point. I drive in, I see the ranger leaning against his vehicle. I park nearby and get out and walk toward him. He motions me to look in the back seat of his vehicle. I go slowly over, fearing what I will find, which is another dog and not Hanson. So with bated breath, I go to the back, up to the back seat of his, I go to the back door of his vehicle. I open the door and look inside. What? I cannot believe my eyes. There is Hanson. She looks emaciated, but she's wagging her tail just enough to let me know she's glad to see me. I am all over her, hugging her and kissing her, and she is licking my face all over. It is the most joyful reunion I can imagine having. Hanson, how did you do this? How did you get out? How are you still alive? And she's just wagging her tail and licking my face. It was a beautiful, beautiful reunion. I bundled her into my blazer. She nestled close by. She clearly she wanted to stay close. I waved a grateful goodbye to the ranger, and we drove down the mountain together. On the way down, or when we got down, I had her checked out with an emergency vet. She was pronounced none the worse for wear. She needed some electrolytes to get into her body because she was so thirsty. And then I told the vet the story of what happened on Mount Lemmon. He was taken by the story, amazed that Hanson was still alive. So I thanked him and we left. 2 weeks later, I get a call from the president of the Arizona Veterinary Association. He invites me to bring Hanson down to Phoenix for their annual meeting the next month, where he wants to present something to Hanson. We drive down, I tell the story, and Hanson is not only given a big bag of dog food, but she's given the award for the Arizona Veterinary Association's 1991 Pet of the Year. As we are driving back, she is far more interested in the dog food than the plaque that I've been given. Ultimately, Hanson contracted cancer, canine lymphoma. I got her in a trial study, medication study, but it did not take. On her dying bed, I look at her and she looks at me. We are looking at each other with such love and connection. And I say to her, Hans, the place where you're going is a peaceful place, and there will be no bears there. One more thing. I did not mention this, but to ease my pain when Hanson was still lost, I had a plaque made, a small marble plaque, and it said, "My beloved dog Hanson, killed by a bear July 6, 1991. If you were to visit my house, you would see the marker for Hanson's grave where she was buried. The marker is that marble plaque. And I smile when I look at that plaque. I smile because of what did not happen on Mount Lemmon. Thank you.